You won't believe what happened during a traditional procession dedicated to Our Lady, which was gathering hundreds of fervent believers in a demonstration of deep faith and devotion. Imagine the scene, a serene crowd walking through the streets, rosary in hand, singing soft songs and prayers that warm the heart, when suddenly, a noisy and incredulous group appears and tries to interrupt that sacred atmosphere with shouts and provocations. What follows is so shocking that no one expected it. The confusion quickly gains strength, but the unshakable faith of the believers makes everything find its rightful place and peace is restored, while the causers of the disorder simply run away, leaving a trail of astonishment in everyone who witnessed the scene. But first, I ask you to leave in the comments the names of the people and relatives who need prayer, because we will include each of them in our main intentions when we pray the Rosary. The procession began at dusk, one of those afternoons when the setting sun seems to bless every step of the faithful. The lit candles reflected hope on the faces of the participants, while the float with the image of Our Lady walked in front, carried with great care and affection, symbolizing the presence of Mary among her people. The murmur of prayers filled the air and, for a moment, it seemed as if time had stopped to contemplate such devotion. It was in this atmosphere of solemnity that a small group arrived at the scene, which, later on, was discovered to have no appreciation for the faith of others. In a mocking tone, they began to shout words of disrespect, causing immediate discomfort to those who were only seeking to profess their own faith. At first, many faithful tried to ignore the insults, continuing to walk and pray with their heads held high. However, the insistence of the aggressors became increasingly intense. Amateur videos captured the moment when one of the individuals shouted insults directed at the Virgin Mary, while others ran through the crowd, pushing some of the participants and making jokes about the procession. The atmosphere became tense and, despite all the discomfort, the group of believers gathered there tried to remain calm, resuming their prayers even more fervently. It was possible to see in the eyes of each one that faith, at that moment, served as armor to resist the provocation. However, when tempers flared, some people closer to the incident became concerned about the possibility of something worse happening. It was then that the strength of unity was present. Religious leaders and older members of the community began to ask the others to remain calm, reminding them that the greatest teaching of Christ and his mother is love and forgiveness. Even so, they did not fail to protect the most vulnerable, the elderly and children, who participated in the procession full of joy. Meanwhile, those who were causing trouble continued to utter harsh words, but they quickly realized that their actions, instead of intimidating, were further fueling the faith and confidence of the believers who were there. In an act of courage and profound devotion, some of the faithful knelt down and began to pray out loud, invoking the Holy Rosary as a shield against all blasphemy and disturbance. It was as if the environment suddenly acquired a special protection. The intensity of the prayers touched even the most distant people. Some looked on curiously, others were surprised by the firm but serene posture of the devotees who, still kneeling, did not stop calling for the intercession of Our Lady. And at that moment, something extraordinary began to happen. The arguments and shouts of insult gradually diminished, seeming to lose their strength in the face of the power of collective faith. They say that the images recorded by cell phones show the exact moment when the agitators, seeing that they were unable to break the circle of faith that had formed there, simply got up and ran, as if fleeing from something much greater than they themselves could understand. And so it was. Just as they had arrived, causing noise and discomfort, they disappeared down the street, leaving behind a trail of confusion and, in a way, perplexity. Those who were in the procession did not even let out a cry of triumph. Instead, many gave thanks in prayer and continued towards their final destination, sustained by the certainty that, when the heart is in tune with the Mother of God, no evil can prevail for long. The repercussion was immediate. On social media, the video of the Atheists running and the procession resuming its march went viral, generating countless comments about the power of prayer and devotion to Our Lady. More and more people witnessed the fact that, in the face of the sacred, pride and the intention to cause disorder ended up surrendering to the serenity of believers who chose the path of faith instead of confrontation. There is no shortage of real examples of similar situations, in which trust in Mary's intercession opens doors to miracles and reconciliation. It is in this certainty that many have found even more strength to profess their beliefs, certain that Our Lady protects all those who seek her with an open heart. And anyone who thinks that this story ends here is mistaken. The procession reached its final destination with the singing of Ave Maria, echoing through the streets, as a symbol of the victory of love over any attempt at commotion or disrespect. Families gathered, prayed together, and gave thanks that nothing more serious had happened, recognizing that the important thing is to continue carrying the faith forward, without fear of the obstacles that may arise. The lesson that remains is that, when there is unity and respect, even the most intense storms can dissipate, because the light of devotion is able to shine even brighter in the midst of darkness. If we stop to think, our daily routine is also full of challenges, provocations, and moments when patience is tested to the maximum. How many times have we not come across people and situations that seem to want to shake our faith or take away our peace? The story of this procession shows us that, just like in our daily lives, we have the option of responding with love, forgiveness, and prayer. Whether at home, at work, or even in our closest relationships, having our hearts in God and resorting to the power of the Rosary can transform storms into gentle breezes. We need to ask for more conversions, more humility, more compassion, and more faith in our lives. Therefore, leave the names of the people who need prayer in the comments, so that we can continue interceding for them on this journey of devotion. Now, share with me, what did you think of this story, and what is your opinion about this moment of faith that overcame confusion? Leave your comment below, as it is very important for us to continue this dialogue. If this story inspired you, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, so that we can continue bringing messages of faith, touching stories, and reflections that bring us ever closer to God. Your participation is essential to keep this chain of prayer and love for others alive. Join us and let's spread peace and devotion everywhere.